So we've talked about the first two principles or pillars of transformative leadership communication. And we looked at yes and then we moved to question first. And number 3 is really an extension of question first. And it's what I call the law of 3. And this is how the law of 3 works. Basically, when it comes to asking questions and finding out truth, generally, you'll never get to the core, the source, until you've asked at least 3 or more questions. Almost always. 3 or more questions. Now, as I say that, what's going through your mind? Randy, you thinking something already?
Aaron should have known that last time because he wouldn't have stopped so soon.
Well,
yes, exactly.
You're right. That's a good point. So we had made progress, but we hadn't gotten all the way there.
Yeah.
Once someone starts this process of understanding question first, there's really different levels of really getting it.
Yeah.
And at first, you don't even know you're supposed to do it. And then you start thinking, I need to ask questions. And then you start asking questions, but you stop after the first question. And then you slowly learn not just to stop, you learn to not stop, but furthermore, you go to places that person has never been. Now, as I say this, let me just put a disclaimer here on the table, which is these communication principles that we're talking about, they have to be used for good. When you become great at communication, you also become influential. And as the Spider-Man saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah.
The same holds true with our employees, with our families, etc. So with the law of 3, it challenges us not to stop. Now, here's the catch though. Too often when we're digging, as they say, we think we know where it's supposed to go. The key is letting go where we think it's supposed to go and getting where it needs to go. There is a difference. So in other words, somebody comes to you with a problem. You think, I'm going to use question first. Start asking questions. But in the back of your mind, you've already got a what?
An answer.
You've got an answer.
Yeah.
And so you start trying to take them to that answer with your questions. There's a name for that. Guess what it's called? That's manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that too. A lot of people are very skilled with it. That's not the goal. The goal is that you release yourself from the outcome. You literally release yourself. And you allow them to go where it needs to go. Now, we're going to practice this. This is going to be, once again, a little bit challenging. It's going to be really challenging because you're on camera. Just as with all these two incredible gentlemen had no idea what we were going to discuss. All this to them is brand new, which makes it more real. And that's why we decided to do it this way, so they're experiencing what you as the viewer are experiencing right now. And hopefully you're leaning into this just as these two gents are leaning into it. All right? So I'm going to have you ask Aaron a question. Aaron's going to answer it.
Okay.
But you have to keep asking questions.
Okay.
You cannot stop. You're going to feel like you're done. But you have to keep going.
Okay.
Now, if you do this the right way, and this very likely won't happen in this moment, but if you are answering it as sincerely and honestly as possible, and you're giving your complete focus, there's a good chance that he's going to learn something about himself that he didn't know because you didn't stop.
So no pressure.
No pressure at all.
Okay.
And this is essentially what I do in therapy
This is
every week.
yeah.
She
This
just
is
continues to ask questions, and I keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and I'm like, holy smokes.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And by the way, as you might imagine, when you do this though, it can get deep in a good, positive, powerful way. Deep to the point where you help that team member so much that you just impacted their life more than any other manager, leader, any person that they've ever been in contact with. Now, is that person more likely to stay with your company because of that?
Most definitely.
100%.
Yep.
And then if you teach them to learn how to do the same thing with the rest of the team, all of a sudden everybody's getting free therapy. And it's galvanizing to the organization. But again, all this is done with caring, with sincerity, without any negative ulterior reasons. Make sense? Okay. All right.
All right.
So, the question you're going to ask, remember, you're going to ask the question, you're going to answer it, and you're just going to keep on going.
Okay.
All right? Key is release yourself. You have to be incredibly curious here. Really got to understand. The question you're going to ask is, what is the biggest challenge you face right now as a business owner?
All right. So Aaron, help me understand, what is the biggest challenge you face as a business owner?
I would have to say our fast growth. We discussed a little earlier. We've grown very aggressively over the past 6 months, and it's outpaced some of my abilities as a leader and some of our abilities as an organization.
Okay, and when you say your abilities, what do you, like, and specifically, what do you mean by that?
My ability to communicate, to effectively lead, to effectively make decisions, lay out our vision. This is where I've started to run up against my age a little bit because I'm young, inexperienced, and I'm exceeding that experience.
Yeah. And with the communication in particular, what is it, like, what's the behavior there that you feel like you lack? What's inhibiting you to be able to communicate the way you want?
I'm just trying to be as clear and concise as possible, and a lot of it does come down to practice. A lot of it does come down to intention. I probably have not been as intentional about making my communication as clear and concise as possible, which is why I probably haven't progressed as fast as I've wanted to. I've made improvement, but I've wanted to go even further, and I haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah. Do you feel that
Now remember, don't give him any emotions. In other words, when you say, do you feel that? You might be prefacing your, oftentimes when we say that, we might be injecting our opinion, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you want to continue, you're doing great, and you might not have done that there, but because you said it, I wanted to mention it.
Okay.
It's a sign that when we say, do you feel that, we might be leading the witness, in other words.
That's a good point. The reason I was using it, I don't want them to feel like, I want them to choose what they want to choose.
Sure.
So is there a better word to use?
No, you can go with what you were going to go. This thought came to me. You can go ahead and keep going.
Okay. Do you feel like if you change your communication style, like if you learn those skills, do you think that would fix the issue, the growth issue?
Now, you did lead.
I did.
See, you did exactly what I thought you were going to do.
Okay.
How could you ask that same question without any leading at all?
Do you think...
What would happen if?
Okay. What would happen if you improved your communication skills?
You don't even have to say improved.
Okay. What would happen if...
You changed.
Okay.
Or when you look at your communication skills,
Okay.
what do you want them to be? Do you see the slight differences?
Yeah.
There's a nuance here.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
but it's literally, you didn't even realize it, but you were starting to lead,
I was starting to manipulate.
right, with your opinions
We're getting humbled today.
about potential solutions that he had.
Yeah.
But that's not our goal here. We're releasing from that right now.
So I guess another question is, like, I decided communication, to learn more about communication, but I feel like I could have So like, okay,
Could've gone anywhere.
that's great.
You're right.
But can I then say, but what about, and then go to another one of the emotions that he feels?
You
or
could,
do you want,
but
do you kind
it's-
of, is it good to drill in?
Yeah, you want to drill in because that's the thing that teaches you how to keep going to a point where you're like, well, I didn't realize I could have gone that. I didn't realize this.
Okay.
Now, we can stop there for a second, but hopefully you showed so great. You were asking great questions. Everything was, that's why we do this activity. And I'm so glad you showed too what can happen if we start to go in solution mode.
Yeah.
And that's
what not to do.
Well, but most people would look at it and say, man, he's killing it. Why'd you stop him?
Yeah.
Because it was a clear indicator that's what you're getting ready to do. What's interesting about this activity, you can use it in many different ways. Well, another one is, let's say you said to somebody, if you had all the money in the world and could do whatever you wanted to do, what would you end up doing? What's interesting is, oftentimes people say, well, I think I would travel. But if you ask deeper and deeper questions, guess where they end up? Almost always. Can you imagine what they end up saying? And this is the moment where they say, actually, now that you mention it,
Giving money?
what they end up oftentimes saying is, I guess I just want to create memories with my family. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So it's really not travel. They don't want to travel. They want to create memories with their family. But they didn't realize that.
Yeah.
On the surface, it was travel. Now, that's fine. That's not powerful. It's no different than you ask somebody, same question, what would you do with your time? They might say, well, I would work on such and such charity. But once you get to the core of that, you start to realize they had something that happened to them in their youth that changed them forever. And in the back of their mind, they've always wanted to work on that thing, on that particular cause.
That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, like, you get
How
first up.
often do you at work walk by somebody and say, hey man, how's it going? And what's the answer you get?
Good.
Good.
Have you ever had anybody in that moment say, truth be told, my life is a wreck right now?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Doesn't
not
happen,
often.
does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you do what?
Really dig in.
Until you dig in.
Mm-hmm.
If I could have everybody eliminate the phrase, how's it going today? And instead, we went up to our team members and say, so what's your biggest challenge right now? Your biggest challenge at work right now? Instead of how's your day? It doesn't really matter. Because they're not going to give us any meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
You get to that, now all of a sudden they're thinking, different conversation, deeper. What's the best thing happening in your life right now outside of work? I'm curious. Boom, different conversation.
Yeah, and you just build such different relationships.
Game over. Completely different. And now we're talking retention. Now we're talking loyalty. Now we're talking, you're building a team that will run through walls.
Yeah. It's
With
like, once again, you say that and you're like, that's such a simple skill. And like, I genuinely care about our people.
Yep.
And I want to know what's going on in their lives, but I'm asking stupid questions like, how's it going?
That's what we do.
And all I have to do is change the wording and say, what's your biggest success outside of work right now?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I get what I want, which is to know them better.
Yep.
It's like humbling.
Now, they're going to give you a surface level answer, but guess what you're going to do?
Ask again.
You're going to come right back because you're not going to stop. Because you've already gotten that sense today. When you said today, I see what you're doing, what you're seeing is you're getting to an emotional point where you feel differently. There's a signal there. That's when you know you're at the core. That's the essence of transformative leadership communication. And that, my friends, is the essence of the law of 3.